Confidentiality is where the information which is collected from that study will only be let out to the public if it is allowed to. Confidentiality is to ensure the participant taking part have their results protected, therefore they can trust that the results which are from studies will be able to be kept safe. Confidentiality is also needed because it's a legal and ethical requirement which is set by BASIS. Data which is collected by will be protected by the Data Protection Act from 1998. So other ways that safety of data can be protected is a hard copy, such as paper files. So if this is how they collect their results, this needs to be stored in a cabinet or a cupboard which has a lock and key, and the key should only be handled by people who are relevant to the study. If it's not a hard copy and the results and data are on the computer, it should be password protected, and same again, only relevant people can access this, so knowing the password. Coding can also be used when protecting participants, but by not saying their names, and using codes such as participant A can protect them from the people knowing their results. So this is confidentiality. When it's required, confidentiality is required within any research which is carried out. An example of this could be when doing a blood test, blood pressure, health. Check name, birth date won't be. So if I start that again, I couldn't really read my writing. So when it's required, an example of this could be shown through doing a health checkup through blood pressure. So name and date of birth won't be needed for the information because it won't really affect the results, but maybe age and gender will, because this could affect the results of what age they are and depending on gender. So if this isn't, if confidentiality isn't utilised, so if confidentiality isn't carried out and information is given out, such as a name, then this will impact on people's further intention of joining into research tests. The reason they might not want to experience the study again. Also, the trust will be gone between the researcher and participant, therefore not wanting to carry on in the study or any others. So next is BASIS. So I've mentioned BASIS before, so I'm going to explain what it is. So BASIS stands for British Association of Sports and Exercise Science. So their main role within the research study is to uphold human rights. This is done through using legal ethical rules, and also there is a code of conduct which is followed. This will help the researchers follow the legal and ethical rules. So civil legal action, this is when a researcher isn't doing their researching legally or ethically, and this could mean they will be taken to a tribunal. So when a participant is taking part in the research, if something goes wrong, this participant can take them to a tribunal, and if they aren't working legally or ethically, the outcome will be worse than if they were working legally or ethically. It is needed to ensure human rights are upheld, and to do this, all researchers need to follow legal and ethical procedures. This will ensure the participants will have safety within the study they are doing. If not, they can take them to a tribunal. So, example, participants can be taking part in a testing of energy sports drinks, and they didn't mention in their informed consent form that there's animal products within them. So somebody could be vegetarian, therefore this is against their legal and ethical beliefs. So this will mean that they can take them to a tribunal, and whatever happens in the tribunal, they could be banned from doing researching just due to that little incident. The advantages of having civil legal action is that it can protect the participant, which might have an effect within the study, therefore getting justice from the tribunal if they wish to take them to trial. These advantages when looking at civil legal action is that the researcher might make a simple mistake mistake and the participant might want to take them to a tribunal. Also, if something does happen and the participant wants them to take them to a tribunal, they might not know the procedure to follow. Next is tribunal. So going to a tribunal occurs when legal, ethical guidelines aren't met when doing a research study. If they didn't explain in the informed consent form what they are doing, and they did this means they are breaking legal and ethical guidelines. This will most likely lead to court saying that they had to stop conducting further research. It ensures that legal and ethical guidelines are upheld, and if they aren't, they will go to a tribunal, and this will prevent them from doing any further research study depending on how drastic it was. Therefore, the person who was a vegetarian can take the researcher to a tribunal due to breaking their legal and ethical guidelines because they didn't write in their consent form. They didn't mention about animal products within the drink. So the advantages of a tribunal is that it helps participants to have trust in researchers due to them not wanting to go to a tribunal and stopping researching and being banned from research. This could possibly stop them from doing legal and ethical work. Tribunals, if they find people guilty for not working ethically or legally, will improve the reputation of British University. The disadvantage of a tribunal is that it can take a while for them to start, so therefore leaving the participant waiting for justice that they want and need. Also, it does cost money to have a tribunal. Also, if there is enough evidence against them, they can be found guilty, and they might not want to be guilty. They might be found guilty, but from the start they weren't guilty at all, so it might be a misunderstanding, so they might have been banned from research for no reason. Lastly, measurements to prevent future research. So this is when, going back to bases, when people work with bases, they have a disciplinary procedure which has to be followed if they haven't worked ethically or legally. From not working ethically or legally, this should lead to a bases officer and the chair of bases to review the person before going to a tribunal. What will happen in the interview, they will look at the case and come to an understanding if they have been working ethically or legally. Therefore, the tribunal then puts in order further procedure what needs to be done to them, so either stop working for bases or have a temporary leave. This is done to help stop people who work non-ethically and legally. This is when the researchers for the sports drinks and have spoken to bases first to get an understanding of what's happening, and then taken to a tribunal to see what penalties they will be getting for not working ethically or legally. So the advantages within measurements to prevent future research is that when somebody has been affected, they will take them to a tribunal. They will have some sort of justice feeling. This ensures that they can trust the researcher because the legal and ethical guidelines are in place, and they don't want to go to a tribunal, therefore making them work to the proper guidelines. Also, because the procedure of the Act is in place, they remove many people who don't work legally or ethically, limiting this. The disadvantages due to having some big companies within researching, if the fine is given to them, it's most likely it won't have an impact on them due to income coming from the other research studies. Also, they are banned from doing research for a while and allowed to come back. Then they do studies which they might not be ethically or legally. Therefore, tribunal penalties didn't really work, so they might have to go back and impose a different enforcement. Thank you for listening.